They're guys. They do magic. They are the Magic Guys.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 209 of the Magic Guys. To my left, we've got Nick K.
Welcome to the show, friends. And to my right, I have the amazing Josh Nabito, who's high and dry.
Thank you, my friend. Yes, we did have some weird cyclonage here in Brisbane, Australia. My fellow Australian podcast listeners will know all about that, but we're fine. Look, the studio's still here, and things are all well. It's nothing like a Doug Conn cyclone, because that's who I went to the moment I knew we might have an issue here in Brisbane. We haven't had one here in 50 years. So I hit up Daddy Doug, and I'm like, Doug, give me the 411. What am I in for? I sent him the info, and he's like, oh, yeah, 100-kilometer winds, you're fine. We normally just have a party when it's a work shutdown for that kind of cyclone.
Yeah, he actually said, oh, wait till it's category 3, then get back to me. But he did have really good advice. Things like fill up the bathtub with water so you have fresh water and have reserves and so forth. So thank you, Daddy Doug, for all the good advice. Unfortunately, he is not joining us on this episode this week because he's currently in transit. He's, as you guys know, he's making the big move to Vegas and basically doing the last of his bits going from New Orleans all the way to Vegas. So he should be joining us very soon. Poor guy's been flat out trying to organize everything. He was saying how fun it's going to be to travel with the 3 cats stuck in the car for several hours across the country. So when all those exploits are done, I'm sure he'll tell us all about it. But in the meantime, we've got someone else to come and join us on today's episode.
Yeah.
Josh,
and
tell us about our guest.
Unlike Doug, this guy has so much hair. And so, he's really going to put him to shame on that front. But this guy, look, I've been a professional magician now in Brisbane for, over a decade. And although I've never met this gentleman in person, I've always seen him on the forefront of events and gigs in his hometown in Perth, in Australia, which is just on the other side of the country. And both myself and Nick have chatted with this guy a lot, but he's just like sort of head down, doing his thing, just owning that part of Australia. This is a rare time that we all are free to actually chat and catch up in person. So get ready to hear some professional tips and some interesting stories, no doubt. I can't wait to hear what gig stories are like in in Perth. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming the magician and occasional time traveler, James Diamond.
Thanks for having me on. I think Josh, I was joking before. It's been a while of us trying to put this together. I think I was saying to Nick before. I think we've loosely discussed it for a good 3 years, perhaps. And life gets in the way. And I keep saying, I think you've sent me that calendar invite 9 times. I think after 9 you get the 10th one free, which is good.
Well, it's good to have you, buddy. So for those that don't know who you are, James, please tell us who you are. Tell us what you do.
Yes, I'm James Diamond. I'm a Perth-based magician. I've been doing this professionally for about 15, 16 years. And yeah, that's it. It's just it's a small pool here, but it's a rewarding pool. It's a great pool, and without getting all kind of soppy and cliche, like it's just the people I've been able to meet along the way, and the doors that this has opened, and everything that goes with it. It's incredible. I couldn't see things any other way. Like it's the best. We're just so lucky to be doing what we do.
Well, one of the things we should probably explain to the visitors here as far as locale goes, Perth is a very different place, I feel, compared to most other places in Australia. There is, let's just say that there's almost like a very big abundance of wealth because there is such a large portion of it that's as a result of the mining industry and so forth. Yes. So the cash flow game there is very interesting. Perth in itself, as far as a city goes, is quite large. But not a very tall city. Like the tallest building we have is like 6 stories, but it's long and vast and wide. So it's a very interesting town. And I'm curious, in a town that's built like that, which is so beautiful, it's kind of by the east Yes, no, west
The
of
West,
Australia.
yeah.
It is in Western Australia. It's by the shore. It's beautiful. It's sunny. The weather is fantastic. It's almost like the sister of Queensland in a sense, you know, like as far as climate goes, minus the cyclones. What's it like navigating through that realm? What clientele do you perform for?
Yeah.
And what do you enjoy like most as far as all the gigs go?
Yeah. So funny enough, there was, like everyone else, we're slogging it out. We're doing our thing. We're grinding over years, and you don't really have your niche. You're doing everything from the 18th to the 70th to the library show to the whatever. Every time a magician comes to our club, our WASM, the West Australian Society of Magicians, for me, it's never about the tricks. It's chatting to them afterwards and getting those little nuggets of info that help get you to that next level. And one of them just said, you just can't be the best at every demographic. You eventually you have to maybe focus fire. And for me, that happened maybe, it was just prior COVID. So, in the grand scheme of 15 years, I'm talking only 5 years ago, I had an event for a certain plastic surgeon in Perth. I haven't gone there, but he exists.
Well, you look great.
I don't know. It's this webcam. Everything looks good in 720p bitrate on this ancient laptop. But it was the first event I had to sign an NDA for. It was a pretty big deal. And anyway, long story short, but none of my stories are short. I got to this event and it was clearly all the wealthiest of Perth, all the personalities, all the kind of, and by luck, maybe it was just such a well-received gig. Like, for the first time ever, I'm not reaching out to people. They're all just adding me the next day on Insta, and we're just like, it was big, As I'm leaving the party, one of the wealthiest people in Perth rocks up with his Miss Universe kind of fiance. And everyone had already seen something. I'm like, oh, what do I? And she's like, oh, you got to show them something. She had her hand on her other hand, kind of on her lap. And I'm like, well, let's just do a quick little ring flight. And then I'm on my way out now. And she lifts up her hand, and this nugget was so big, it's basically bigger than half the buildings in Perth, So I was just like, I freaked out, and I've got another ring flight story later, but I freaked out, but I'm just like, I have to do it now because everybody's filming. There's just TV names here. Everyone's here. This is the place. We're on a rooftop overlook. It's just, it's insane. Like, the views are insane. This is the moment now. I've done the ring flight. Everybody loved it. Next day, just the amount of story shares and Insta ads, and everyone's just like, they referred to him as the big man loved it yesterday. And I was just like, long story short, that became the niche. That became the angle. And so my niche is kind of in and around what they call the golden triangle of Perth, which is like along the water, the very kind of, high disposable incomes. And it's got its benefits. I mean, you're not back and forthing on price and having to prove your worth, and they're not, there's meat on the bone. There's actually, and that just became my thing. So that organically, just because of one event, kind of has become my niche now. So I'm very happy to, again, it's just, we're a small pool. I refer the events that aren't quite my fit. And likewise, fellow magicians that I'm close with, Pierre, so on, they do the same. And it's just, that's become my niche now. It's just the kind of personality, kind of the launch parties, the brand launches, the billionaire parties. That's become the thing. And it's, I guess, in a way, the marketing and the branding has slowly adjusted in the last 4 or 5 years to adapt to that.
I will say that's one of the strongest things you have as far as a performer goes. You are someone that our agency, Omegan, and I've put a few gigs through over the years that we've known each other. And funny enough, this is the first time we've actually had a proper hangout. Because I've only ever known you by reputation, and it's because your marketing really does solidify the strength you are as a person. Through what knowledge are you so good at this? How did you learn to be so good at this marketing realm?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't actually think I am good at it, but, I did have a previous role doing some marketing work in other industries. That kind of helped. And I think one of the big things was, the very first WASM, the Society of Magicians here, the very first meeting I went to was because Oz Perlman was attending. This was in 2006.
Hell yeah.
I'd been lurking the society for years, like a creep from afar. And then, because it was really far from home, from where I was living at the time. Oz came. I joined at the side of that month. Long story short, I caught up with Oz afterwards. I had the benefit of driving Oz, to the hotel and airport. That's just like, oh man, I couldn't believe it.
Those moments are invaluable. They really are.
And the big thing I asked him in the car was, I just said to him, like, you're in the most isolated city right now in Perth, but you come from a city with 30 million people. Like, there must just be magicians in every block. I know you've got more population, but you've also got more of you. And it's just, how do you stand out in a city of 30 million people? And his big thing was, you have to have them love the magician before they love the magic. And that all comes down to marketing. It's all branding. It's perception.
Best advice. Yes.
Even back then, like young 24-year-old James was like, it's true in a way, like, because we hate to admit it sometimes, perhaps, but to a lot of people, there's no difference between us and maybe getting a plumber or an electrician or anything else. It's just like they go to Google, there's 12 on the maps or 15 on the maps or whatever it is for that area, and they just start texting, and it's just a price game or it's just a whatever game. So eventually, and pricing's a whole separate thing, but like, I never do Google sponsored posts. I never do Instagram. Like, I never sponsor my posts or go for Google AdWords. I don't even worry about the SEO because that's for people looking for a magician. Yeah. And based off what Oz told me, it's like, you don't want people looking for a magician. You want people looking for O's. You always said that to me, and I'm like, oh man, this is. But it's true. It's just like, because if you're looking for a magician, that's going to be a hard sell because my quote's probably going to be. It's just tough. It's just everyone's doing their own thing, and that's okay. But it's a really tough game to win. But if you've already got an in, you're there,
Definitely. The way I sort of word it, and I'm happy to say, like, I would love to know your thoughts on this, Josh. Like, my mentality is like, you can get a cover band, you can get someone who sings songs, but if you want Pink, you have to hire Pink. If you want Bruno Mars, if you want Britney Spears, there's no substitute. Like, if you want a singer, we'll get you a singer, no problem. Yeah. If you want Nick Kay, there's only one. If you want Josh Nabita, there's only Josh Nabita. But if you want a magician, then there's a price that does kind of reflect that, which is not always about the money, but it's just one of those things that you need to sort of keep in mind. You can price yourself at a point like, if you want a magician, I'm a magician. Here's my magician price point. If you want Josh Nabito, I'm Josh Nabito. Here is my price point, way up here. So it's that type of thing. Josh, what do you think there's a lot of strength in that?
Oh, of course. I mean, two things come to mind. Number one is I was just reading this book. I think it's The Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett's latest book. And he basically says, like, people want the best service for what they can afford. So if their budget is whatever, or the other problem we have as magicians is no one knows, like, there's no framework for what a magician is or an hourly rate. So they just kind of pick an amount they think is what they would pay for a magician. And then they just try to find a magician, like the best one at that price. And then, so that's where like our problems start, because they're just looking for someone who has the title of a magician and fits within, that price they've just made up in their head that maybe has the most Google reviews. And so that's where that game that we're all talking about doesn't really work for us that have been in the game for a long time. The other thing I'm reminded of is in one of Steve Collins' books, he says, if you want to get the $20,000 gigs, you'll never get them if you can't let go of the $2,000 gigs.
Yeah, that's big.
Which is, I mean, $20,000 gigs. Come on, that's insane. Yeah. But
the principle of it. Yeah,
absolutely. If you can't let go of that game, you're not going to get to the real game. And so, yeah, it's tough. Absolutely, you have to sell the person, right?
Let me throw this out there, boys. Let me throw this out there. How many? Okay, just take a quick mental reference of what the experiences were like for your personal enjoyment for entertaining a group. The group that you were charging $600 or $1,000 for versus the ones you were charging $3,000 for. Sometimes I think we could, for me, I'll speak only on my behalf, a $3,000 gig doesn't make it better than a $600 gig.
No.
Usually they're a better client to deal with, first of all. And typically they enjoy the magic better because there's a more perceived value of what's going on as well.
I think the perceived value and the perceived worth is a big one, because they've put more. I mean, you look at the ultra elite and the wealthy, like their Rolex doesn't actually tell the time better than my iPhone. and for day-to-day use, the Ferrari in the garage isn't that much better than my 15-year-old Beamer. And so, but it's that perceived, so it's just like,
yeah. I mean,
they'll talk you up to the clients when you come in and you arrive at the house because they've paid that outlay. Do they enjoy it more? Did they actually enjoy it more than the person who spent $500 on a midweek last-minute filler job? Not necessarily, but the perceived, is a pretty big. It's all perception. It's all, yeah.
I think it's the same reason why there's a clip of David Blaine performing Ambitious Card to Jeff Bezos.
Yeah,
and he's losing his mind because it's David Blaine performing Ambitious Card, as opposed to the million other magicians they could have had in that room doing it.
Yeah. And
I just had something else on my brain as you were talking, James, and now it's gone from my head. So I'm going to wait for that to pop back in.
And another one that's become quite big, and this has actually just only happened in the last few months, which is really strange. I remember listening to a lecture from John Archer, and he said, you should be able to put all your props away and just talk to people for 5 minutes. And if they're still hanging on every word you say, that's when you've made it. Long story short, the last few months, not many, but at least maybe 5 or 6 in the last 5 months, they've paid me to just be there because I'm James and we're not even doing magic. And that's a great spot. I had a rooftop party for, I won't mention names because Perth's tiny. There's only 9 people that live here. But we had a rooftop party for a certain person that had about 250,000 followers on Insta. And we changed it up that night. That night, I'm just there as James. I'm still dressed in black, but not necessarily the velvet blazer and the whole thing. Just well-dressed. I'm literally just there talking and networking for about an hour and a half, which is what they paid for. And then I just said to him at one point in the night, because I know all your people there have all got hundreds of thousands of followers. It's just that little niche of Perth. I said, we're going to do one spot that makes it look impromptu, but this is the moment that everyone's going to come and film. And so we had everybody. It was the most simplest thing ever. It was invisible deck. But I've got it in a sealed bag. I've got certain jokes I won't get into which work with that crowd. I had someone ring someone up who's on the other side of Australia to get the card detail, like name the card and this and that. Everybody's pulled out their phone and filmed. And that was the moment. And the guy whose birthday was just nodded. And he was just like, when I left, he's just like, dude, that's exactly what I wanted to like. And that's it. Like so you're there for an hour. You're literally just networking. You're not even there being like trick boy. You're on that extreme burn. You just sit back. I've got a glass of drink in my hand. I don't even drink, but I'm just there trying to look cool. I'm just holding that the whole time, chatting, and then one trick, and that's it. We've been doing that a little bit lately, and that's been quite good. It's just that whole thing of like, again, it's not the magician now. It's just a brand. It's just like, and people say, "Oh, are you performing tonight?" And I'll say, I mean, not officially, but we'll see how it goes. And then they're waiting for it. They're waiting. And then you wait for that right moment. The DJ's kind of turning their music down a little bit, and you just create what they think is, I shouldn't even be doing this right now, but should we just try something real quick before I go? And everyone's, okay, guys, can you pull your phones out for a second? Everyone's pulling their phones out. I think we've done like a group toxic as well. And that's it. And it's just, and I give the birthday boy a big hug, shake his hand, and just leave on that high note, just leave, and that's the moment. That's what they paid for, so.
You've made it exclusive. Like an exclusive moment that they shouldn't have seen almost, And
I think that perception thing as well is just like, sometimes it goes the other way. I felt bad the other day. I had someone ring up for a birthday and she's like, oh, James, look, I know it's probably not the type of event you do. It's probably not. And I'm thinking, it actually is. But I just don't brand that, because work leads to work. And so even if I did do a public show at the library, that's not going to make the wall because that's not the image I'm pushing. But it's a bit hard when you hear it sometimes. You hear them say, "Oh, it's probably not in your league, or it's probably just a little thing." But you're thinking, no, that there's still people. There's still everyone's like, it's not even that. It's just sometimes maybe the marketing's gone too far where it's just like, but again, work leads to work, so it's just like that branding is that look. But yeah, for every glitzy kind of personality party you see on Insta, hey, don't get me wrong, we got to eat food, we've got to pay our mortgage. There's still 2 or 3 on the back burner that you're in the windy little alfresco area, like an hour from Perth in the backyard, and the music's loud and it's dark. And the dog's walking around everywhere, and people are stopping. You're ambitious to pat the dog, and we're still doing that.
Yeah. Was it a conscious choice to, in amongst your branding, to not have video of your work? Is that part of the personality, as you call it?
It's 2 things. One is I just don't have that much material, especially in the close-up. It's like the same 8 tricks again and again. The parlor stuff's got its own stuff as well. But sometimes when you put the video there, it's just you ruin that element of surprise, perhaps, or perhaps ideas might get lifted or borrowed, perhaps, or just a number of things. I just thought, you know what, less is more sometimes. Mm-hmm. Just keep it to a minimal.
Well, I mean, it's sort of as played. I mean, I'm on obviously the other extreme. I'm putting out somewhat too much video, but it definitely works in your realm, because I guess if those people that want to feel exclusive, feel elite, or whatever, people can only see what you do if they come to their party and see James. Yes. They can't look up your show anywhere else.
Yeah,
super interesting. Does that ever put you in spots where you don't have work for a while because there just aren't those parties happening, but the other magician game is running?
Yeah, things definitely come in waves, and especially in winter in Perth, everyone just stays home and watches Netflix and YouTube, and I get it. You then have to take on work you normally wouldn't take on, and it's as simple as that. Whether it's a residency, whether it's whatever it is, and there's nothing wrong with residencies. I still believe, I was telling some of the guys here, like Pierre, like Paul, Robbie, back in the day, we all said, like any new person that joins the society here, all the young guys, I was telling like Dom and all these guys, I say, I actually believe everybody should do a 6-month residency, even if it's like free, to learn the ropes, because it's invaluable. Like I've lucked out a little bit. I've got a beachfront, it's called the Left Bank down in Fremantle, like palm trees looking over the water, incredible, awesome aesthetic. I do it at a really cheap rate, but it's invaluable to bring in new material, to keep the chops fresh. Like you have to have, like, just working that noisy environment, hearing people that are a little bit on the drink, it's just a numbers game. You do that thing 100 times, you're gonna,
There is a question here with regards to price point from Tim Askin, and it says, do you only put half the effort in for cheaper shows?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Yeah, it's
we just switched to the Queen Slipper cards. That's all, instead of bicycles.
Yeah, it's just little things like that I tend to make an adjustment for. I have several suits. I might wear an older suit as opposed to one of my more newer suits, because every time I perform at $36 in dry cleaning, for example, I might go. I might not wear the tailored pants. I might just put chino pants on instead. But I don't have to worry about the dry cleaning bill. Like there's little things like that I might do, but ultimately, as far as what I give, I pretty much give it my all. And I might save a couple of things that do require a bit of effort. There are some effects that you do that do cost you money to perform. It might be something like a perishable, like a card that you have to tear up and destroy, or give something away. You might save those for the higher end stuff. I've mentioned this in podcast prior, where I say to people when I give them the price, I say, here is my normal robe or my premium robe. And the premium is what
interesting.
I do a little bit more for. You sort of cut out the premium stuff is what I would do. But just always keep in mind that no matter what the price point is, every performance is an audition. Pro tip.
Right. That's good.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. You're always there auditioning as to why you should be booked again, or by someone else that's there. I mean, that's the name of our game, right?
Yeah. The other thing is, and the other thing that's real quick is that not that it should matter, but at that $500 gig, there might be that $500 gig might be best mates with the CEO of the $500 million oil and gas company.
Yeah.
And he's there as well.
Yeah.
And so,
and then he'll want to book you for the $500 as well.
So, and, 500 yen, even go even further. But it's just never, and every show you just give it your all because you just, But there's ways to cut elsewhere, like you said. Some of the stuff that's perishable. I've been doing Revive a lot lately. I don't remember like Revive, Illusionist Revive, which is like the staple to Torn and Restored. That then,
ooh, fancy.
Yeah, it's such the gimmicks that you make the gimmicks yourself, but they're so time consuming. You've literally got to like peel the cards, then you get a Stanley cutter. You're scraping the pulp off the cards.
Yeah. Put that line across so that you can do this thing. Yeah.
I nearly had a heart attack because the shoebox that I have scraped maybe like a year's worth of pulp into nearly tipped onto the carpet the other day. But that's okay. Long story short, those things take so long to make. So whether it's a financial gimmick like a cube in bottle, or whether it's a time gimmick, that's on the cheap ones, you go, we might not do that tonight. We might just go for cards. It might just be ambitious and invisible. For phones, it might be this. For the parlor stuff, we'll do that. And because likewise, they're still, but in terms of the energy and the effort I put in, it's still 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Strong material is strong material. That's the most important lesson about that. It doesn't always have to be perishable, So keep that in mind.
Now, we talked a couple of weeks ago, James, about the importance of following your clients back on social media, because it's not normally been a thing that you would keep in contact like that. Normally it's separated by an agent or by emails, or they would just follow you. But it sounds like you've definitely gone down that path. Like you're pretty in touch with. You have to. Yeah.
How it's a little bit like, back then I was just like, I spent months designing a business card, months over analyzing every font. Even Canva said, dude, you must pick now. Just save that PDF already. You're done. And then I realized it's not about giving the business card. It's about getting one back, because if I give that card, it might go on the fridge. It might go in the door seal in the car, and the next car clean that goes into the bin. It might go anyway. Like it's. I realized the real importance was sometimes I literally just go, actually, I've actually run out of cards. Have you got sometimes I'll joke and say, my last show was really popular. I've run out of cards. Have you got a card, by the way? And the real thing is, and of course, these days that's maybe been replaced with Insta. It's just like, hey, are you on Insta? The whole point there is that it's not just, it's one thing for them to follow me or have my card, but there's an art in very delicately being top of mind by sprinkling stuff back their way. It's not, it's just a simple like of a photo and wow, looks great. That's it. A month later, they're down at a winery, they're over in Tasmania. Awesome, looks so good, super jealous, might have to time travel my way over there. It's just a super light sprinkle. It just, before you know it, it's just how it is. It's just the amount of times I then get a DM like, "Hey, actually, I was just talking to my hubby. We're just talking about the other." Like, it's so.
It's the new email marketing list.
Yeah. To me, it's just like, and look, I still do my MailChimps. I still do that every month, and you're checking this and that. But it's just that. And not to come across as salesy. I mean, as soon as there's that whiff of desperation, or he's trying to sell us something, or he's trying to spruik his thing, literally just show interest in people. If you want to go further down that rabbit hole, I've got notes. I mean, on your contacts on your phone, every contact, you can go to the notes section of that contact, put those notes in. Last we spoke, he said he was looking to get a new boat. It's not here till November. His daughter has just started playing for the local whatever team. Because you see them again, you just dial it up, and you're like, they're talking points, they're points of interest. It makes all the difference, It's and just never push. Just as far as it goes is if I see they've got an event coming up, I wind it up a little bit more. Like if I see them like, oh, we're planning whatever, then you can wind it up a little bit more and like, you know, as a time traveler, I've looked to the future. Turns out it was great having me there, but message me soon, that kind of. And the amount of times, and they'll just chime in. Oh, and how much was it again? Refresh my memory, and you're just like, hey, and that's it. It's just an in. But yeah, it's so crucial to follow back. Respect that these people they're still professionals. They're busy. We're just a magician at the end of the day. Don't overstep your mark. Don't keep sliding into DMs and sending reels and trying to be a friend. But a short little, just tap it in. Same thing. If I'm ever at a cafe or whatever, I always stop and make sure I say hi, and just let that happen. It's so crucial to.
Well, that's like we said before, the difference between being James Diamond and being a magician. Like they want James Diamond there because James Diamond is the type of guy that'll just call and say, how's it going? Or drop into a cafe to be like, I was just passing through. I had 2 minutes. You good?
Yeah.
Good. Hey, look, I'll come by for a proper dinner sometime. We'll catch up then, but hope you're well.
Proper thing sometime and glad to hear the shop's doing well, or glad to hear this is, and that's it. Yeah. You just leave it and then move on. But yeah, it's really crucial. We're so lucky with I sometimes wonder, like magicians in the 90s, like
they had it real good.
How are they doing it? Like outside of that ad in the yellow pages, what was going on?
They had it so good back in the 90s. I can say that much. Oh, I know. I've heard the stories. Anyone who's hung out with the Duck Camerons, the Tim Ellises, or the what's his name? Phil Casses of the world.
Phil Casses, the holy grails of
I hear so much about Expo 88. I keep hearing so much about that era, how much they made back when that was happening.
They used to print money. Like it's just, they had it so good. And like cats was a thing, cocaine was a thing. Like it was just nuts,
Everything was a thing.
There is a question here in the chat, my friend. The question is, why is he the time traveling magician?
Like most things, it just kind of came organically, So as a quick side note, like even the hair thing, the hair thing became a joke because I was at a party about 12 years ago, and the hair was nowhere near this height. It was just like a little kind of like 2008 kind of Tintin kind of special, just that little bit of, we had that little ledge. And we're at this party, and I made something disappear, and I said, nothing on my hands, nothing in my hands, nothing under my watch, nothing up my sleeves. More importantly, my hands haven't left your side. That was the thing. And then this kind of, I guess you'd call them a boomer before we knew they were boomers, kind of just said, it's probably in your hair, mate. And everybody laughed, and not even just laughed, like a real boomery belly laugh. Like this guy, it was like the Can You Make My Wife Disappear version 2.0. Like it was just like everybody loved him saying that. And I thought, so again, it's just like, when you get a funny line from a spectator, you're like, how do I fish for that again without making it looking like I'm fishing for that? So,
you do it the way Shen Lim does, where he constantly puts his hand through his hair.
Yeah, but those wide fingers and
His way of saying nothing in my hair, nothing in my hand.
So for example, that's how that was born. So it got a little bit higher, got a little bit more. It's obviously not a full thing now, but and when I do the hands, I go nothing on my hands. In my hands, I keep them here, so it's framed. And eventually people, now it's a bit on the nose now. It's the cat's out of the bag. They know that's a thing. You get to an event, they're like, the hair's looking, it's become a joke. It's a running joke. And so the time travel was similar. It was just like, I was at an event and someone said something. It was back when every third magician was predicting lotto numbers, and I was one of them. And there was a phase there where there was so many magicians predicting lotto numbers that we could have actually technically won the lotto by now. Like one of us should have actually won it organically. Sure. That's how many people won lotto numbers. And then someone came up on like, it was like a parlor show thing, about 40, 50 people. And someone came up, and the person who came up, this was back in the old CUPP days, the old, we're waiting for that ticket to print and stressing out if it doesn't print. And someone came up and said something like, I can't remember what it was, but something like, you just time traveled back and da-da-da. And again, it's not even funny, but everyone laughed at that. And I'm like, okay. And so the ongoing running gag, which I close most routines with, is, so the whole thing of like, I don't normally get into this, but I'll be honest, out of all the groups this month, you're by far the most recent. Here's the thing, I'm not even actually a magician. It's a front for tax. What I am is I'm actually a time traveler. And that's just become a thing, it's just become a thing. So it's just.
It's really nice.
Yeah, and then you got things with like, so when I do Revive, for example, I have a line where I say, as a time traveling magician, not only can I travel back in time, but I can actually pause and rewind time right in front of your eyes. It looks like this, and that's when I restore. So it gives you, same thing with group toxic. There's ways to, you just shoehorn. So when I do toxic, for example, I say, as a time traveler, blah, 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 I say, numbers are endless. They're like the stars in the universe. You could count forever, you'd get nowhere. And time, even as a time traveler, time goes so far back that we don't even know when it truly started. And so if you think of any number, and so you get all these moments, you're just shoehorning that. And then when it gets a bit heavy, then you go back to a joke. But the time, it's just a nice little side avenue where you kind of rope most, the same with Ambitious, it's got this thing about time. Every trick, but it's just based off someone coming up when I've done a lotto prediction and someone says something about the time travel, like you could just be a time traveler and make millions. And I'm like, that's great. Like, we'll use that,
Yeah. It's just we all want to believe in time travel too. Like, it's such a great concept. Also helps people anchor to remember who you are. Like, who's that, that time traveler guy?
And the business card has that. It actually says magician and time traveler, and that's
great.
The amount of people, by the way, that are like, oh, it actually says time travel. I'm thinking, turns out I can get whatever I want printed on those cards. No one's actually,
Yeah.
It's, both of those things derived from, they weren't technically my idea. They were just someone, but again, even with the hair thing, it was just like, I only do this because I can't grow one of these, by the way. I've been growing that stubble for about 9 years. It's just
must be nice. Must be nice.
I would do anything for a beard. But same thing, it's just like, someone came up with the idea and I'll just take it. I remember, again, for even just describing people, no one remembers who we are. Oh, we had a magician. Oh, who was it? Sometimes when I go, oh, we had a magician 2 years ago, actually. Oh, who? And, eventually fish out, oh, I had a bit of a French accent. Oh, it was Pierre. Oh, it was a really tall guy. Ah, Robbie. Or, you can kind of, but again,
this is really fascinating. Like, I've really been discovering that as well. Like, we at the Theatre of Magic will have repeat customers. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I remember that couple. They were in my video, for example. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to change up this, and this. And it happened one particular day. And I was like, this was like a month ago. I was like so happy with myself. I'm like, okay, great. I've changed like 60% of the show. And when they got here, I'm like, hey guys, how are you? Welcome back, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh yeah, you're funny. You did the cheese trick last time. I'm like, nope, that wasn't me. That was the Amazing Nigel. What? Yep. They're like, yeah, we loved you. I'm like, oh, cool. What do you remember? Like, what was your favorite thing? And they were like, it was so good. My phone vanished. I'm like, nope, that was Nick. I'm like, oh, I didn't have to change a thing. Like, they liked the magic, but they don't remember. They remember how you made them feel, right? That's the important thing. But they could not.
By the way, how awkward is it when someone's like, you arrive to an event, they're like, oh, the magician. Yeah, we had him. We've seen him before. We had him before. So he's brilliant. And you're thinking, actually, it wasn't me. And then you're like, do I agree with how brilliant I supposedly was, or do I just cop up and go, actually, it was someone? It's a weird thing, man. I've done that before. Where they're like, yeah, we had you 2 years ago, and you're thinking, no, it was Robbie. But I'll all of a sudden my posture's really good. I'm trying to pretend I'm Robbie and trying to be tall, and but you're just like, eventually you're just like, no, it's just not me. And so,
so although we blow their minds in the moment, like we have to stay on top of mind for them. Like, we have to get their business card. We have to follow them because they aren't going to remember. Oh, let's get Josh again. Because they might even.
Yeah, and the other thing is where you can cheekily throw. So obviously, you've got the time traveler thing and then the hair thing, but then sometimes you just blatantly throw your name in the gig. So, for example, when I do the Mine, Yours, the Mystery, Jamie Raven and basically just some double-sided Tyvek envelopes, and it's But when I do like one envelope says mine, the next envelope says yours, the next verse got the question mark. When I get to that point, I say, So the first envelope's called mine, and then would your $5 be in the envelope called mine? After all, it's mine, or is it in the one called yours? Even though it's mine, I hand on heart want it to be yours. But then when I get to that third envelope, I say, or perhaps would it be in the third envelope, the mysterious James Diamond patent pending envelope of mystery? And again, but every time I introduce that envelope, which is about eight times in the routine, it's the James Diamond patent pending envelope, because it's that naming thing, same thing. When I do ambitious card, I say, by the way, guys, I hear the whispers, the murmurs, the chit chat. People say, James, I bet you got trick cards, or James, you got duplicates, or James, I can't believe you're in your 40s, your hair's so thick. But again, it's just like, that's the gag. But the idea is I've said James 4 times. There's these little things you can do to make sure your name, it's still not going to mean anything, like it might not convert, but it's just where you can throw that name in your patter.
Even on stage, like I like to have, whenever I'm writing on something, it's branded on the back and it'll say Nick K. Right. So that as I'm writing, I'm actually holding up something that has my name on it, and then I turn it around for the revelation. So little things like that, where your name can be seen as much as possible, is good. I have thought about doing, this is purely a thought, because we have these residencies here that we perform in like 4 times a week. A name tag. I feel like it's almost semi-degrading.
I've thought about it. It was in Jamie Allen's book, The Approach. Oh, great book. Great book. That was just like, when I flew back from Magic Live, I literally read the whole book twice in the plane. I was just like, this is just a bit, and some little nuggets there. He recommended getting like those event lanyards with the plastic feet, and literally just having like, with your photo, like or not, whatever you want to, but just like James Diamond Magician, and just having that. And it's just like, the idea as well is that it gave you a bit of like a VIP kind of like, for people that had like, I think one of these things, like a lot of people with I remember Simon Coronel had the best thing when he just said, roving's tough sometimes because we're basically just professional interrupters. And that can be tough. So when you got that lanyard, it's just like, I'm not just some dude who's walking up to the little table of 3, like, that's my in. But indirectly, like you're saying, Nick, it's just like, but it's also just got your name on there the whole time. So everybody, and you bring the height up to like chest height, and you've got this, your name's there for a whole hour. I've
God damn it, that's so good. Well, that's so good. And also credit to Jackson Aces. I saw he was just doing that over the last December period too. So I'm not going to pretend like this is the first time I'm hearing of it, but but I still have never done it. But at corporate events, like, God damn it, that is so smart.
Yeah. It's a nice. Yep.
Wow. Are you working with agents as well, or mainly direct?
I am, yeah. So we've got a few here in Perth. I think ultimately the really big events the agents will always have their place, for like getting the big ones together, the really big ones. Perth's got a bit of a FIFO scene as well, where people go to mine sites and do bits in that. Not really my jam, but I'm probably going to be part of my plan for next year is to start doing those, just to keep the quiet season of work not so quiet.
Yeah.
But I think in general, again, with social media, people just reach out direct. They just, it's a 24/7 business card. It's your highlight reel of all your best stuff. And it's, the agents always have their place, especially around Christmas. They just fill those gaps, don't they? They just kind of like, you do your own, and then they're like, hey, Samsung quick party here, and then KPMG. A bit like, they just fill these gaps, and you're like, this is great.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if maybe the writing's on the wall, perhaps, maybe like in 5 years or 10, like, things are changing all the time, and I wonder if, short of the big ones like the casino and the big stuff, the big, like Rio's got their big whatever, maybe. But I think.
Well, I think AI is going to mess with a lot of this kind of stuff. Like,
I never thought about that.
A lot of agencies are already automated, right? It's like an automated directory, like Crowd Pleaser or Bark. There's a couple already.
All those OneFlare, all those, it's all automated.
And, there's no human interaction. So like, why even use them, right? Because they're not really helping you. They've just put all the people you could have found on the internet sort of into a smaller place. But, you know, already people are talking to their phones to look up stuff. And it's such a short jump before they're just like, you know, I don't want to say my phone's name because it's going to pop off, but like, hey, phone, show me 5 magicians in Brisbane. And it's going to go, boop, 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 boop. This one has this many reviews, da, da, da. Here's their Instagram. Would you like to call them? Like, that's it. And then game over.
You'll probably say, would you like me to send a message to all 5 and compare their prices? And you're like, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's getting that way. So, yeah, I think...
like you can already
completely obsolete. They'll get shaken. The tree will get shaken quite a bit with how they handle going forward.
Yeah, I think. I mean, and we don't know what will happen in that essence, but the thing that will make them valuable again is if they are a human helping another human.
Back to that human element. Yep.
Yeah, because I can already ask ChatGPT. I mean, I do it selfishly all the time to see what comes up. Like, show me the top 3 magicians in Brisbane. I just want to see what it shows up with, or in Australia, or in the world, or and it already gives you that list straight away. And that's just going to happen, you know, more and more.
Yeah.
All right, I'm so intrigued to hear some gig stories about Perth time traveling magic. We'll all sort of share one as well, but let me introduce the segment.
Yeah, great.
So Gig Stories is a segment of the show where we talk about performances, either from our day-to-day life or whilst doing events, starting this week with our good guest, James Diamond.
Thank you for that. I've got a recent one that happened, and it's best I don't use names because I'll just every single person in WA wouldn't know who this person is, and I'll just leave it at that. Just by the nature of the beast, every single person will know who this is. Anyway, so I'm at an apartment launch for a certain company that does all these big apartment complexes, and I see this person from afar near the pool area. So we're doing a launch party. It was a 2-night party. One was for the residents who bought, and the next one was for all the people that help invest and get this off the ground and so on. And I saw the certain person, and I'm like, okay, they have to see something. I never just broach them and start putting magic in their face. They're not there for that. But I always just go to the group next to them and start doing something. So go to the group next to him, do something, and then straight away he's turned around and it's just like, oh, you're a magician. I said, hey, nice to, you know. Anyway, we've done one trick and he really liked it. It was extreme burn for those playing along, and that was good. And then we done another trick, which was ambitious. And he goes, all right, go on then, go one more. And I thought, okay. I'm prepping the ring flight in my back pocket. I'm pulling that clasp, and I always triple check the clasp nonchalantly just to. By the way, I've had when ring flight snaps, it's debilitating, but we're all ready to go. I borrow his ring. I vanish his ring. Now, because of who this person is, there's maybe about 30 people around us with their phones filming. So this was just in like November. There's about 30 people. They're all filming because of this person. You know, everybody knows who he is. And I vanish it, and that was fine. And I brought it back, and that was fine. And then I do the next phase in the wallet, in the sealed envelope with the JOL wallet and the bonzolopes and all that stuff. And I give him back the ring, and I said, an absolute pleasure, until next time, which was my kind of thing. And then he looks me in the eye and he goes, that was bloody brilliant. But that's not my ring though. And, first you laugh it off because, sometimes like when sometimes you do invisible deck and you'll be like, and is that your card? I'm like, no, I'm kidding. It was. And everyone cheers. Or, what were you thinking of? Was that your drawing? No. Yes, it was. And everyone laughs. And so I just laughed and I said, oh, yeah, if only. And I give him back the ring again and then kind of just gripped my wrist and said, no, that's not my ring. And so it just kind of went in slow-mo. I felt the room go quiet. And by the way, it has gone a little bit quiet now because everyone's like, what? And then the lady he was with said, listen here, darling, I'm not sure what you're trying to pull here, but we're not leaving until he gets his ring back. At this point, it just, when a tone changes, it's like witnessing a fight or a brawl, people say, when it happened, you go gradually, then suddenly. There's always that thing, gradually, then suddenly. It just turned. The night turned. And I said, hey, in all due respect, I don't carry like 15 rings, wallets, and mobile phones on the hope that it matches one of the 2.5 million people that live in Perth. I can assure you that's your ring. There's no duplicates. Anyway, when it got really weird was when I'm looking at the ring again. I'm like, wait a minute, it's engraved on the inside. There's initials here. And I said to him, but it's engraved. And then this is when I realized that perhaps maybe they're on some special vitamins or something, where he looked me in the eye and he said, but you've only showed me it's engraved now. I don't know if it was engraved before. And just with a straight face, like this is like...
Wow.
Yeah. At this point, security's come. And the security guys, here's a little pro tip. I always show something to security on the way in.
Great
because
idea.
You need to get them on side later on. And so there was one of these huge guys who was loving it. He's just like, no, he done this last night. It was killer. No, man, he's trying to defuse it, but this person still wouldn't believe it. The owner of the whole company who does all this, he's come. Thankfully, I done it to his wife the night before, also with the ball nuggets. Anyway, everything left. They just left. I'm just like, I'm not sure what happened. They all left. I'm literally now sitting down near the pool. Like I finished now, but I'm just like distraught. And then the guy who owns the whole company said, buddy, killer job tonight, just like last night. I'm not sure what happened before. And he just said to me, at some point, I won't mention his name, we'll wake up tomorrow morning and say, of course, that's my bloody ring. And we left it at that. Anyway, next day, I've got a birthday party, and this is where the story wraps up. I've got a birthday party the next day. I do a little thing now with the birthday card, where in the greeting of the birthday card, I put a couple of the forces and outcomes from the show. So it's just like, here's the thing with the money, and the money's like extreme burn, but in the card, I ran out of birthday cards. I've gone to the newsagent the next day, and that person's there. And and I just said, hey, how's things? And I just said, still got your ring? And he left the newsagent so quick that the girl working at the newsagent was like, oh, sir, you haven't taken your... He just walked out and left.
Wow.
I've since seen him at another party, and it's water under the bridge and everything's fine. But boy, oh boy, like I had security come, I had the hot... And then 30 people, I'm just like... Perth's so small. I just need this will work in my favor. I'd be like, local magician, and then just, but no one really shared. Like a few people shared it, but didn't really. Thankfully, there was no kind of TMZ style expose. But it was so stressful. I literally felt ill. Next day, I opened with ring flight at that party because I'm like, I need to before the trauma sets in. I've only just started using the invisible thread again. That took 14 years of trauma for when that snapped. I had to face the beast straight on. But yeah, it was so weird. It was so...
Wow. What a testament to how good your magic is that he just was convinced there's no possible way that could be the same one.
It's, if you look like that, it's pretty cool. All props to Dave Bontel and all the stuff he puts together. But yeah, it was just so freaky. It was so. And for the wife, it just shifted. The room went silent. The bouncers came, security came, the owner of the company. It's just a lot. It's just, I was maybe the first time I've been shaken up in maybe 5 years. I'm literally just sitting down in a deck chair near the pool, just like a little bit shaky as well. Like you're running on that kind of.
Adrenaline, yeah.
Really weird. It's really
adrenaline.
I got into the car that night. I'm like, what just happened tonight? Like, what? And thankfully, it was at the end of the night. Like, these people that just come right at the end of the party, that kind of, because I don't know if I'd be able to continue that gig. It's just a lot. So that's that one. That's my story.
You literally, his ring was literally signed, and upon giving it to him, he still didn't. And for the wife to get into it and be like, "Listen here, dear, I don't know what you're playing at." Like, that's crazy. You know what? Thank God that happened to you now in your career and not like at the start. Because imagine that happening to a newbie and they're like, "Oh my God, anytime you borrow something, they're going to think that it's now a fake, a phony."
I spoke to a magician the other day, Toby Z, and his fringe show. He borrows the ring. I think that's like the David Regal, like the 3 rings and that, that kind of thing. He's finished his fringe show. Everyone's walking out of the tent. This was like in January. And then she's just said the same thing, like, "But that's not my ring though. But it's a cool trick, but that's not my." And even her boyfriend was like, "Babe, like, I'm sure," like, he was trying to just like pacify it. And she's like, no, don't. It's not my. And even Toby was just like, he's not doing it now. He's just like, I need a break from rings. It was just, it's.
I need to jump in. I need to jump in for a second because I've experienced this before. And I need to share this because I can't tell you how many times I've done something like a ring flight, borrowed a ring, whatever it might be. And they go, "That's not my ring." And I just go, "Oh, it must be mine then." And I just put it in my pocket. And they go, No. And immediately it flips on its head. And I'm just wondering, like, why isn't anyone else going, "Oh, it must be mine then, I'll keep it." And
that's brilliant.
I hope that we shared a scary story. If you approach it the Nick K way, which might be the wrong way, but
I think that's the best way. I think that's the best way.
It's not mine. Oh, it must be mine then, I'll keep it. And they go, no. They'll push back every time and shut them up.
Incredible.
That's great
so,
too.
Yeah.
Love that.
But this does happen. As Josh mentioned earlier, I do a thing where I vanish a phone. And I can't tell you how many times there's been a handful of times, some which involve police reports, where they've gone, he skimmed my phone. Like he skimmed my credit card. And it's happened quite a few times. One time this guy was just like, "Yeah, good on you, mate. That was really good. Good." And I'm like, "Thanks." And he was, nah, good on you. Like, I saw what you did there. And I was like, "Thank you." And then he brought out his phone on the app and held up a phone and there was like an amount for like $68 and something cents. And he was like, "Yeah, good on you." And I was like, "I don't understand what you're saying." And he was like, you skimmed like $60 off me. And I'm like, "Why would I skim $68 exactly?" I go, and when was this? And I'm like, this was 3 minutes ago when you ordered the round of drinks, you muppet. Like, I was just like, brother, like, careful what you say. Because 1, you're going to ruin my reputation. Number 2, you're going to look really stupid. So it depends how you want to do this. And he was just like, yeah, no, right. And he shut his mouth. Another cat, like, he was saying that, like, there's suspicious behavior on my credit card, and I think that he did it. And I was just like, "Prove it. Show me where it is." Blah. I wouldn't do it. I lost 3 weeks of worth. I lost thousands of dollars. Yep. And I was like, we can't employ you until this like police report's gone. And I'm like, "Where's the report? Where's the report? Get the police report right now. I'll take it straight to my brother-in-law, who's a detective, and go, all right, run what you need to run." They were just talking crap the whole time. And then I said to him, I go, "FYI, it's been 3 weeks. I'm $3,000 in the hole. If you don't produce what I want in the next 3 days, I'm going to sue you for loss of wages." And they were like, "Oh, we never said he did that. We never said that he did that. We just thought he did. We just thought he was acting suspicious." And I was like, "I don't know what you think, bro, but this guy who's a bit like that, I'm a gangster, what do you know?" I'm like, I'm not going to try and target someone wearing filler tracksuit pants and go, "Oh, he must have some money. Let's try and scam him."
It's just funny that's the out, like Josh was saying before. It's like that's the outcome they're going with. So the reason path goes like this, and if that, then that, and if that, then that, and they go. And so the logical conclusion is you've skimmed $68 off that.
Oh, bro. I've been at gigs where the power went out and 200 eyes look at me like I did it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's when you can take the credit.
Yeah, that's just like that's my final life. That's called Nick K's Lights Out. I'll see you guys next time you're winning.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That's how I know my time's up. Yeah.
Yeah. But so these things are going to happen, but it's
incredible.
It's the type of thing where you need the insurance, and a lot of times I take a ring, and I'll go and so if it looks expensive, I go, is it less than 20 million? They go, yeah. I go, good, then I'm insured.
Yeah.
That's what I say. You know what I mean? And if they kind of go like, well, he's a pro, he knows what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes I actually have a very, very little knowledge of rings, and I'll take it and I might say something about it. I'm like, do you know the shape of this ring, what it actually means? And they go, no. And I go, oh, if you wear it this way, it means you found love. If you wear it the other way, it means you're looking for love. And like, you serious? And I'm like, yeah. And sometimes I just make the shit up. But the point is, is that like, I'm someone who knows rings and knows this and knows what wealth and knows what wealth looks like. And because I know wealth, I treat it with respect, the same way that I would look at a wealthy person's sports collection of watches and cars and go, is that a 930 or is that the 996? He's like, that's a 996. And I'm like, that's my dream cars. I go, can I poke my head in? Just sit in it. I don't want to sit in it. I don't want to sit. It's too nice to sit in, but I would love to just.
By the way, you make a really good point about knowing. It's really important to know just enough about all those things that can be a talking point when you're with those clients, because that's what they're into. It might not be my jam, but if they're into crypto and they're into investments and they're into trading and they're into, then I'm going to start reading up about lithium and I'm going to start reading up about whatever. And I can't afford the Rolex, but I'm going to go, okay, so that's the Submariner 2. And that's it's just talking points, you know?
Well, here's one last thing I'll share about the ring that'll give you some safety as well. When you go to borrow a ring, you say, if anything happens to it, I'll gift you the keys to my car. And then I show the keys to my car. And in the action of putting it back in my pocket, I hook up. So the notion is that I've set a precedent now that if anything happens to your ring, you take the keys to my car. And they go, well, that's a fair deal. So there's an exchange here of like, it's my ring, not my ring. And the thing is, they're so dumb. They'll say, like, when it's hanging back on the actual keychain itself, they'll go, that's not my ring. I go, oh, it must be mine. Then I'll just keep it. No. So you've got all these. Yeah. And if they say, that's not my ring, give me the keys to your car, you go, take it. It's a $150 gimmick. You go buy another one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And keep the ring, which is probably 20 grand if you're hanging out with your mate. You know? So there's a little things you can do to combat the scariness of that. But as far as the presentation goes, it goes in full circle.
We should also point out for magicians listening to this is like the 0.005% of the time.
This is the 0.
Where there'll be this pressure moment. Like, that's just because James has done such a good job that this guy has just believed that he's trying to steal this ring. But that's not something you're really going to have to worry about. But we bring it up because one day it might happen 10 years later.
One day. Yeah.
James, it's been so great having you here.
Thanks, guys. Likewise.
This chat, awesome. we would have all had this exact same chat even if we weren't live. So we're just going to have to make a point to have more of these because this is some real juicy stuff. And thank you so much for sharing a lot of the way that you sort of operate and things like that. Yeah, look, you can find James everywhere, but nowhere at the same time. His website is in the description of where you're listening to this podcast. And we want to end with giving you the final word. So I'm going to play a little stinger, scope out James's socials, hire him for your personality party. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. We have another guest. We'll announce him in a couple of days. But James, we're going to leave you with the final word. Let me play this and we'll see you guys next week.
The final word, not too much to say. Just, thanks for having me on. Keep in touch on socials. I'm always happy to meet up with other magicians, catch up, jam over DMs, share ideas. I think through sharing ideas is how we all grow. Thanks for having me on, and I hope we can do it again real soon.
Thanks for listening. It's time for us to disappear now. But we'll see you again on the next episode of The Magic Guys.